Hi everybody, welcome to a new tutorial on SynthScaper. In this video I'm going to show you how you can do tuning, but also how you can do more than just tuning, for example splitting keyboards, loading some beats, etc, etc. So let's have fun. Before I start, please make yourself familiar with other videos because I'm not going to cover materials which are covered in previous parts. So let's start. We are inside SynthScaper. Let's initialize the scene. So we have only one oscillator working with a sine sound. Let's decrease also a little bit the level, like so. Okay, perfect. So let's go inside oscillator number 2. Okay. So today we're going to cover this part of the screen where it says fix, octave, note, microtonal and degrade. So the first thing I want to show you straight away is the microtonal, because you can actually micro tuning, which is really interesting. So for example, if you click a note on the keyboard and you move to the next one, you move by a semitone, which is 100 cents. Which you can also change the tuning here in cents, as we've seen in another part. If I click on microtonal, you see this cent changing in scale. Again, at the moment I'm moving by semitones, and between one note to the other, or between one note and the subsequent note, there is a difference of 100 cents. If I change the scale to, for example, to 24, the difference becomes actually 50 cents. So you can see the tone is very different. And this can be useful if you want to, for example, play a melody and try something completely different. Okay, let's move on now. Let's activate only layer number 1. Let's click where it says generated sine. Okay. And let's go, instead of going through the built-in sample, let's click on user and let's load a snare sample which I previously imported. I showed in the previous part that you can tune the sample, but I didn't explain it. So if you click on tune sample, it shows you this screen where you have a spectrum analyzer, which gives you the amplitude of all the different frequencies, and it uses that to determine what would be the bass note for that sample. So which octave and note should be assigned to as the bass note, and also make some fine-tune adjustment. If you are okay with that, of course you can just click close and set your sample. If not, you can change the octave and the note as you please. You can go back to what has been auto-detected, which sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. You can play in a continuous way the original, and you have to click to stop it. Then you can play the tuned sample on A4 note, on the A4 note, to give you a sense of what it sounds like. And remember, it's not doing time stretching. When you finish, of course, you click close and then you can set your sample. So in this case, we have loaded a snare, and as you can hear, as I move from one note to the other on the keyboard, it will change the pitch. Okay, and it will have a different, of course, effect on timing as well. Now let's expand the keyboard so we can see more notes clicking on here. Let's say that I want to fix that snare because I don't want the pitch to change. So the first option I have is to fix the octave, like so. So now if I press on the C4, it will sound the same as the C5. Now you have to set the octave correctly. In this time, in this example, it is octave 0. If you recall, when we looked at the tuning sample, it said that the octave should be octave 3 and note F sharp. So why don't we use that to see what it sounds like? So let's go to octave 3. Okay, now let's try. So ideally the optimal will be an F sharp on octave 3. So this should be the correct one. As you hear from C4 and C5, it's the same sound. But as you move inside the scale, it still changes pitches, the pitch. So let's fix the note, which is the next thing you can do. So this dial change to say note, and let's move this to F sharp. And in this case, now the pitch doesn't change throughout any notes in the particular octave, but also in other octave. So we have fixed not only the octave, but also the note for that particular sample. And this can be useful if you want to play always the sample at the correct pitch and timing. Next, I want to show you the degrade function, which is used to effectively create distortion and add harmonics to your sound. So if I click on it, let's see what it sounds like now. So you can hear that has been distorted, the new harmonics have been introduced. Okay, now let's put these to work with an interesting example. So I'm still on layer number 1. Let's go to to the sample. Let's go to user again, and let's load a drum bit, which I previously imported. Let's click on tuning to check what will be the optimum octave, which says 1 and note A. Okay, that sounds good. Click close and set the sample. Now let's click on a note to see what it sounds, to hear what it sounds like. Okay, so let's fix the octave to 1. Okay, and then let's fix the note to A. Okay, and let's try. Nice, so we have a drum beat on just layer number 1, which is amazing. So let's go to layer number 2. Let's do the same thing. Let's import now a bass bit, and let's check the tuning. Again, it says octave 1 and note B, which it's okay by me. And let's set the sample. So let's do the same. So fix the octave to 1, and let's fix the note to B, and let's try. Really nice. Now let's say that I want to play that drum and beat pattern on the lower left of the keyboard here, and on the top playing a solo. Well, it's very simple. So let's close that, and let's click here where it says keyboard, which I will explain in full in another tutorial, where it says end range key here. We need to set these. Let's set it here that it finishes on B3. So the note is already selected B. Let's select the octave as there. So now if I click on C4, nothing happens, because the sound is only reproduced on the lower part of the keyboard, which is what we wanted. And now to just make it to finish off the setting, let's go to oscillator number 2, in it, and for simplicity, let's load a synth key. Let's load these Obermatrix lead 1, set it. Now the problem is that when I click on the lower part of the keyboard, that synth will play as well. So let's adjust that to start only from C4. So we use the begin range key, and we set from note C, octave 4. So now I can play on the left hand side the that button for drums and bass, and while on the right hand side I can improvise. And if I wanted to make it even cool, I can set to hold only oscillator number 2 notes here. So when I click on a note on the below C4, I don't have to hold the key, and then I can focus only to play with my right hand on the upper part of the keyboard. So let's try. So really cool. And as you can see, now I can even further set up my scene. So for example, I can go to scale, and I can say, okay, choose a different scale here, and let's say choose Aeolian. My keys will change, and then I can play without worrying to hit the right note as well. So as you can see, this is a way that you can import, sample, assign it to different layers, create effectively your scene, which is almost like your performance ready for what you want to do live. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, a different way of using SynthScaper, and I'll see you next time.